Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new, just landed here, I'm Afefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. I do mostly political readings and then I check in and do more spiritual readings for the new moon and full moon. Woo, what a week we have had, and so it continues to go. New backdrop with the Divine Goddess, another version of the Divine Goddess, and just felt that watery energy. We got to go with the flow. Want to take a look at a couple of things really caught my eye, and maybe some of you as well, that has occurred. We are now getting a better understanding of where Mike Johnson sits. We know he's under orders from Canks. This shutdown is very much what they want and what Canks wants, because they're trying to delay that they don't want to swear in Adelita Grahava. They don't want to reach that 218th vote threshold to release the Epstein files, right? So now we understand it's even making more sense, because there is a special election coming up in Tennessee on December 2nd. And what I think Canks has said, tell Mike Johnson, hold off, hold the line, because if the Republican, what's his name? I wrote it down somewhere. Matt, and he's straight up MAGA, by the way, this Republican out of Tennessee, Matt Van Epps. So Mike Johnson is hoping if he can get him in, then that basically cancels out Adelita Grahava's vote, right? His opponent, the Democratic opponent, is Afton Bain, right? So, want to see, number one, is that the plan? Are they trying to keep the government shut down? I don't think that's going to work too, especially the way things are. The momentum behind the elections that we had this week, the Democratic sweep, and just the mounting tension and crises that we see now, even affecting air flights, airlines. I think something's going to happen. I'm going to take a quick peek today. I'm taping this early Friday morning. Today we understand the Senate is going to have yet another vote. They need eight Senate Dems to join them to get it over the threshold and send a vote to the House to reopen government. We understand they've got three Dems on board. Will they get five more, with no assurances still of the Affordable Care Act subsidies? And that's been the sticking point. So we're going to see something come out of that today. Want to take a look at that. How about, and while we're on some subjects of this week, how about Canks freezing yesterday? At the thing with the GLP-1 conference, or not conference, but the announcement about the reduction in prices for those medications, and this guy, one of the reps, pharma reps, passes out, and he just literally froze. Like, that's over there, I'm over here in La La Land. Pictures of him fast asleep while who was it, Oz, giving his spiel. Really, really interesting. Like, how much more is the GOP going to take before they begin to stand up to this guy? Clearly he's clocked out. He's not up to the task, for entertainment purposes only, right? All right. But here's the thing. I want to get to this in a moment. Mike Johnson trying to hold off and get this, hoping that this guy in Tennessee is going to win so he can cancel out the vote. Why is that so important? Because now we also hear that the DOJ, quietly, some folks inside have been telling GOP Congress people, listen, there are not just documents, there are Polaroids. And people have been talking about, I know many of you are going to be like, yeah, there's Polaroids, plenty of them, with allegedly, supposedly, for entertainment purposes only, with plenty of them, not just one or two, but plenty of these Polaroids with Canks, with supposedly half dressed girls, and what Michael Wolff. Some like him, some don't. Some say he's trustworthy, others don't. That be that as it may. Michael Wolff says that, I think it was back in, I can't remember the year, but that he met with Epstein because Epstein wanted him to do a book about him. And that Epstein fanned out these Polaroids, at least a dozen of them, were told, like they were a deck of cards of Canks with these girls, right? That is a part of the files that would be released. That's a part of the documents that would be released. And that, of course, is what has got Canks in an absolute terror, because it's curtains. It's curtains. That's curtains, y'all. That's gotta be. If that's not curtains, I just don't know. I just don't know. Maybe it's time to start looking at someplace else to live. Like it's just so far beyond. But I want to take a look at that. All right. Enough chit chat. Let's get to it. First, is Mike Johnson trying to hold out until December 2nd, hoping that he can cancel out Adelita Grijalva's vote? Is that really what's going on between Canks and Mike Johnson? We have the hangman. Hold out, hold out, hold out. That's the plan, y'all. There's some merit to that. That's the plan. Spirit, will those pictures, have those pictures been seen by congressmen? Have the congressmen actually seen those pictures? Have people within the DOJ, have they seen these Polaroids? Do they know? They've only been told, or have they seen them? The lovers, I think they've seen them. Somebody's seen them. They've been shown. It wasn't just a, hey, guess what, you all, there are these photos, so we really need to hold off and postpone trying to get these things, produced. We cannot do this. They're out there. And the Eight of Swords. This is Mike Johnson, freaked out because he knows time is ticking. He knows it's only so long now before that becomes public. So it's not just, so much of what we were hearing was that there were these documents and references to Canks, in relation to Epstein. But photographs, actual photographs, can't come back from that. Cannot come back from that. All right, Spirit, let's ask now. The Tennessee special election on December 2nd between Matt Van Epps and Afton Bain. Will Bain, the Democratic candidate, will she win over Epps? Will Afton Bain beat Epps? Ace of Pentacles. Boom. The Democratic tide will continue in the state of Tennessee, you all. That's what I'm getting from Spirit. Afton Bain winning the special election in Tennessee. And the Four of Swords, so that brings the clarity that people are waiting for to produce these documents. Will Afton Bain join in? And so Adelita Grijalva gets sworn in. Will Afton Bain also join in to produce the files? Will she cast a vote? If she's sworn in, or when she's sworn in, if she wins, will she cast her vote as well to release the files? Nine of Swords, she's gonna hesitate a little bit. She's afraid, especially coming out of Tennessee. She's afraid to do it, but will she? Will she stand up and make her voice heard in that way? The Fool, I think so. She's gonna take the risk. She's gonna take the risk, especially as a woman. As a Democrat, she's going to walk in and have so many Dems in the House approach her and say, and I feel like Grijalva as well, once she's sworn in, it's going to be like, okay, you know what time it is, right? The Fool. So, and the Knight of Cups, go with the flow. Recognizing she's in there, she's got to make her mark. Spirit, will we see those Polaroids? Will the American public see these Polaroids that are being talked about before the end of 2025? Will we see these Polaroids? Will they either get leaked or somehow become public this year? The Nine of Wands, there's a push. The demand for them, because once they're released, the demand for public release, not just to Congress, members of Congress, but public release of them. Will we see them? Ooh, something's trying to stick. What was that? Six of Swords and the High Priestess. A delay. a delay of some sort. Mike Johnson comes into play with this, you all. They're gonna challenge whether somehow they've been doctored. But how do you doctor a Polaroid? In other words, who are you going to believe, us or your lying eyes? And the Eight of Pentacles. But they're going to come out. I don't know about the timing. I feel like with that High Priestess and the Six of Swords, it may not happen in December, because that's going to be pretty quick. If Bain wins in Tennessee, she wins that special election, she gets sworn in, we're already in December, and then the vote gets held, and then the demand for the continued demand for the release of the files, including those photos, that feels like it spills over into 2026. I think that's what Spirit is saying. Am I right about that, Spirit? We'll see them in 2026. Seven of Wands. We're going to see them in 2026, if not before. Stand our ground. Once this happens, once the Dems have the necessary votes and they cross that 218 threshold, to release the files, to put the vote out and demand the files be released, and then that clock is ticking, and we will see those photos. And when we do, is that when JD Vance takes over? Because he's out of there. Those photos, he's out of there. Many of us have been wondering, was it going to be a medical emergency? Could very well be. Goodness knows, looking at how that man is going down day by day by day, right? Sitting up there in the middle of the day and the afternoon, sleeping on camera, like just couldn't even hold it together, completely out of it when that guy faints, like out of his body, like someplace else. Is that when JD Vance takes over? Is he going to be out of there? Is that when JD Vance takes over, when those photos come out? When those photos come out, is that when Vance takes over the tower? You saw me shuffle and spray to cleanse the tower. Yeah. Wow. All right. We got that. So keep your eyes open for that one. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Nobody's buying it, right? Nobody's buying it. She hasn't had some Paul on the road to Damascus revelation about the direction her life has been taking, and now she just now she's just become this Georgia peach, sweet as pie. I talk to everybody, like nobody's buying it. There's too much water under that bridge for people to just completely buy into that. That said, we're hearing that a lot of what prompted her turn against Canks is because he basically told her, you're not going to be able to run for Senate or governor. So she announced earlier this year, we knew she had, political aspirations to grow, right? But he said, no, you're not going to Senate, no. Governor, no. Sit your butt still and stay where you are. You're lucky to be there. And she put too much on the line for him, right? One of his staunchest, rabid supporters. So now is it about the presidency? Is she looking at trying to, become the face of some new aspect of MAGA, or the certainly the right, the far right, so that she can launch a bid? We understand she's raised some money. I need to do some research, Miss Former Journalist. I need to do my research just to do a little more into what she's got in her coffers already, and the extent to which her donor base would grow sufficiently for her to mount a presidential campaign. Can you see her facing off against JD? And clearly Rubio would be, I think, his vice presidential pick, right? JD and Marco. People are going to have a lot of fun with that one, if should that come to pass. But is that her plan, Spirit? Is Marjorie Taylor Greene doing all of this makeover, this political makeover, because she wants to launch her bid for president? She said, okay, fine. If you won't let me, you're putting the squash on my Senate ambitions, running for Senate and governor. I'll do you one better. Spirit. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene aiming to launch a campaign for president. Ten of Wands. She's sort of biting off more than she can chew right now in terms of the opposition against her, because she isn't well liked, even with it never was, even when she was a really convenient mouthpiece for MAGA. They didn't like her. She was more of a form of entertainment. She was a nice soundbite. Page of Swords. However, that's an energy where she is in conversations. It's still new, Paige. She's in conversations with those who would back her campaign. She's got her eyes set on that, and justice. Yes, absolutely, you all. Look at that arrow, pointing that arrow, her ambitions moving forward, and justice. She almost sees it as she's entitled to have that sort of platform because of, and clearly not entitled from Canks, because Canks has kicked her to the curb, but entitled by the MAGA base. She really feels that she's been a true patriot, and that she is going to be able to articulate a cause to a MAGA base that is becoming increasingly, disenchanted with Canks. And the Ten of Swords, disenchanted with Canks. This is what she sees as her opening, that people are absolutely done. They can't take it anymore, and she's an alternative. And the Queen of Wands, that's her. Yeah. She's going to try and launch a presidential campaign in 2028, you all. Now we'll go into that a little bit later, but at least that offers some clarity around what this has really been about. I know there were some concerns around whether she was doing all of this just to kind of soften MAGA's approach or feelings about this administration, and then, back end it and then show her fangs again. But no, she has separated, and she's going to stay there, but it's because she thinks she can literally become the face of a different part of the party. That's going to be really interesting to see. All right. Last thing I wanted to take a look at today, you all, is Nancy Pelosi. I think I said in a reading last week or the week before, we knew that she was not going to run again. I think she was waiting until the Tuesday elections to make her announcement. The whole, this groundswell of progressivism within the Democratic Party, and the push for older leaders to step aside. But Jeffries, her leaving is really making Jeffries even more vulnerable than he already is, you all. That's what I'm getting from Spirit. And will Jeffries be out as well next year? I think he is among the stack of folks who are up in 2026. We understand there's a new up-and-coming guy. I thought I wrote his name down. I see something. He sits on the city council in New York. I could have swore I wrote his name down. I keep my little notes here. I'm going to pronounce it wrong, so please forgive me. Chiossu. He is 27 years old, progressive, sits on the New York City Council, and supposedly a sort of a Mamdani protege. And the word is he is eyeing a bid against Hakeem Jeffries to take him down. So, is Jeffries out? Not only that, you all, but as a side note, we've already seen that this woman out of Tennessee, this Democratic candidate for the special election, Afton Bain, she has said that she's not so sure about supporting Jeffries as leader of the House should she be elected. She's not really a fan, right? And we know a lot of other people are not fans of him. He's lost a tremendous amount of support. And now without Nancy, in there to do what she does in the back rooms to try and mobilize and continue to keep her protege in power? Nah, I don't think it's working. Spirit, is Hakeem Jeffries gonna lose his position in the House? Nine of Wands. He's gonna fight it because he's got that money behind him. He's got that super PAC money behind him. Six of Cups. He's going to pull on his record. He's going to pull the I'm so much more experienced. He's 55 and this guy is only 27. That might be an impediment to an extent. But that's what Jeffries is going to do. No way should you even look at this guy. Look at all the experience I've gained. Look at all what I've done. And the Eight of Swords, though, he's very scared of that. Jeffries knows that he's blown it. He knows that he has really blown it with a lot of people. And all of that with the hand, nobody's moved by it anymore. And those who are really disappointed in him. And the Four of Swords. He's going to try and course correct you all. Don't be surprised if you hear a lot more sort of leaning progressive talk from Hakeem Jeffries. He recognizes that he's in trouble. He recognizes that he overplayed or underplayed his hand by waiting so late to endorse Mamdani. And that when he did, nobody was buying it. We knew it was not an enthusiastic or really genuine endorsement. And the Moon. He's in trouble. He's in trouble. We got time to look at that, you all, but that's going to be a really interesting dynamic to watch and see. With Nancy leaving, he's got to find Jeffries has to find his own voice. And in many regards, you can just tell by so much of what he says, he has been directly coached by Nancy all this time. It's like he doesn't make a move without hearing from her, talking to her, strategizing with her, for sure, right? He's in trouble with her. Without her looming over him, he's in trouble. All right. You all, that's what I think I had for today. I hope it was helpful. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for hyping. Thank you for the super chats. Those of you who, like the content well enough to do super chats, it keeps me in decks. I shared a video of my closet yesterday. Some of you may have seen that. And so it's a passion. It's what I love to do. It is my tool of choice with divination to come and give you all these readings. And yeah, let's just keep this going, right? Let's keep this going. Snap, I'm hearing that I heard something out of California that there are some cards that EBT cards that are showing up with some funds, despite the fact that Canks and JD sat up there yesterday and basically said, well, we got to keep the U.S. Liquid. Is that what they said? $40 billion later to Argentina, and you can't come up with the $9 billion that you were ordered by the courts, $8 or $9 billion you were ordered by the courts to go ahead. That's already there, already sitting there, already been designated as emergency funding. But we got to keep the U.S. liquid. And I heard a comment something to the because we just can't keep giving people free stuff. People don't. When it's been proven, and the facts are that the majority of SNAP recipients work, but they work minimum wage jobs. They can't afford, they need that something extra. So I think Spirit, and while I'm there, and they made me pick the cards back up, Spirit, are we going to see SNAP? Ooh, Strength and, okay, 2 cards flipped. I'm going to take them. Strength and the 3 of Wands. I don't know what the deal is around certain areas that the SNAP benefits are showing up on the EBT cards, that they are being funded, but yeah, it's happening. This is a fight that they don't want, to continue to defy the court orders to go ahead and release this funding and give that's strength. And but it's going to be a fight. It's like they're going to fight. Instead of doing the right thing, they're going to fight it every step of the way to appeal the second order that they got to release those funds, and then turn around. Well, we're just going to appeal it. And JD to come out and advance and come out and say, well, Courts don't have a right to tell him what to do, strictly out of the Stephen Miller playbook, right? You know, skip the courts. I almost said another word. Skip the courts and and just do what you're gonna do. Can nobody tell you what to do, Canks? And Canks just eating it all up. Not gonna fly. That money is going to be restored sooner rather than later. Those funds that were designated, those contingency funds that were designated for SNAP, they will be released. Just feels like trickle, 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 instead of a wholesale, okay, let's make it right. Trickle down, but we will get more money from that. The flights, so we understand that the FAA has said they will penalize airlines $75,000 per flight that they allow to go forward over and above these cuts that they're phasing in. 4% starting today. I'm taping this early Friday, and then going into next week up to 10%. We are hearing as well, though, that the airlines are supposed to let people know within 7 days in advance of whether or not a flight is being canceled. And there's a lot of information out there about what to do in the event of a cancellation. That said, I've been getting for the last 3 weeks that there is going to be a vote to reopen the government. However, remember, even if the Dems cave, even if the Dems whatever to allow vote they get the 60 votes in the Senate, it still has to go to the House. Mike Johnson has been told if this 12-2 thing is real with the Tennessee special election, Johnson's been told, don't you move, don't you budge. So it just feels like there's still this hesitation. And there's the lovers. A deal reached. A deal, like parties coming together. A deal reached. The tower breaking the shutdown. That's how I read it. Breaking through the shutdown. And justice. Wow. Spirit's not playing. Three majors right out of there. Doing what's right on behalf of the people and also the courts. Somehow, some way, the courts are involved in this as well. Will the airlines buck the FAA? Are we going to see the airlines band together and buck the FAA? Because, this is the FAA handing down orders to the airlines. The airlines are, they're losing business. They got to issue refunds for canceled flights. It's costing them money now. Not to mention the inconvenience and how going into the holidays. Spirit, are we going to see the airlines, the world? Now, that's perhaps ushering in sooner an end to the shutdown, you all, because of travel. The world very often is a card that indicates travel. It also indicates an ending. But I think there's something here where the airlines are going to get involved. I don't know if it goes as far as a lawsuit, but that justice card has me wondering. Airlines are going to fight this as well, because now they've pushed all of this in their laps. And this is going to cost them money, major money, at a time of year where they make some of their, where they make the most money for the holidays. So watch out for that as well. All right, y'all, I'm out. Have a good one. I'll check back in with you probably on Sunday or Monday. Haven't been doing really well with my videos on Sundays. I don't know if it's the algorithm, the traffic, or whatever, but so I may push my Sunday readings to Monday. But I'll let you know one way or another, all right? You know how we do it. Chin up, shoulders back, right? More than ever. Hold the line. Know who you are. And by all means, continue to come from our hearts. We're hearing a lot of stories, some made up. Shame on those people who are getting on social media and just for the clicks, oh, I did this and I did that, or I witnessed this, and heartwarming stories that we later find out are fake. That said, there is a tremendous amount of incredible efforts to help people during this time. And certainly we need to keep the TSA and air workers and air traffic controllers, whatever means. If you know one, if you have a neighbor or someone in your family, like, by all means, let's do everything we can to make this time better for them, because they truly are in the midst of something that is not of their doing, and they are paying a huge price for that. So that's where that hard part comes in. All right, you all take really good care, and I'll talk to you real soon. I appreciate you. Bye.